Hello, everybody. It's time for Pop Speed Digital's Hot Take Tuesday. I'm Lori Joe Vest, and I'm here with almost the entire Pop Speed Digital team. We have Molly, Kylie, and a newbie, Sarah Shakatano. We just call her Sarah Shock because, all those letters, it's kind of sometimes gets lost.
A lot.
How long have you been calling yourself Sarah Shock, Sarah?
Oh God. I think about 2.5 years now. I
I think
used
it's what the whole family does,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I still can't spell it, to be very honest with you. I keep trying, but I keep missing the C's and S's everywhere.
And a couple of A's and all kinds of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But anyway, we are going to talk today about TikTok's music situation. If you're at all tuned into TikTok, you know that there's been a huge upset. And I'm going to let Kylie get us started with our three big things that we're going to cover this morning.
All right. So, all three of our big things that's all under the same umbrella of the Universal Music Group, we're going to refer to it moving forward as UMG. They have pulled their entire musical catalog from TikTok's sound library. So, what we're going to talk about today is, of course, our hot take on this breaking news. And we're going to talk about how it's going to continue to hurt small artists the most, more than anybody, because, what it seems like when things like this happen. And from our standpoint, it seems a bit like a money grab. And how did you say it, Lori, before about like two kids throwing
They're acting like children. I mean, there's a Wired article I highly recommend if you want to know what's going on. Wired printed an article on it or published an article on January 31st. And basically TikTok is saying that Universal Music is ignoring, their small artists by not letting them have a catalog. And UMG is saying that TikTok is, using only the big artists and preventing their emerging artists from being discovered. And it's like they're like, you're a bully. No, you are. And it's like a bunch of kids.
Yeah, it seems very silly. And of course, when big corporations end up in little spats like this, it ends up hurting the small artists, the small businesses the most. So we're going to dive into that. And then we're going to wrap it up with how this is going to impact brands' TikTok strategies, because it is going to make a lasting impact. So let's dive right in.
All right. So we always want to start with Taylor. Why, Molly?
Okay. I chose this photo because I wanted to talk about a quote from Jack Antonoff, who is pictured next to him. And I figured, who is going to know who Jack Antonoff is if he's not next to Taylor Swift? So, but am I allowed to swear on this?
Say it again.
Am I allowed to swear? Because it's in
his
quote.
Ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So he says, in a press junket after winning Producer of the Year at the Grammys earlier this month, he goes, I think it's ass backward, and the very least we should have known. You've got a whole industry being like, you've got to do everything, and here's what you've got to do. And then one day, it's gone. And pretty much what he's talking about is how UMG and TikTok kind of blindsided all of their artists, and the way that the industry has forced artists, new and like well established, is you have to be on TikTok, you have to be like churning out all this promotion constantly. Right. And now they remove all of their music. So how are they going to actually be able to do that? So I thought it was a really interesting way to kind of like set off this conversation on how this is just truly just screwing over artists.
And now, is it the small artists you said that if they're distributed by UMG, they're affected?
So a lot of artists, obviously like the really big names like Taylor Swift, Olivia Rodrigo, Drake, Bad Bunny, they are signed under UMG, but UMG being a huge kind of umbrella like record label, they have a lot of subsidiaries like Republic Records, which is what Noah Khan, who was Best New Artist nominee this year, is signed to. And he even says in this like NPR article that I have pulled up, he said, I won't be able to promote my music on TikTok anymore, but luckily I'm not a TikTok artist. And he has been around for years. I've been listening to him since probably like 2019. But his recent album Stick Season went crazy viral on TikTok.
Right.
And is the reason that he's selling out stadiums, like got a Best New Artist nomination. Like it is crazy the way that TikTok has been able to like kind of like launch people into stardom.
Right. Like really propel their careers forward. Yeah.
Truly. And now that all of these subsidiaries of UMG, and even if like your music is like just distributed by UMG, which I'll talk about in a second with a like much smaller artist, it's just really like, it's really unfortunate that these two massive corporations are saying that they care about all these smaller artists, but clearly they kind of don't.
Yeah.
It's more like tit for tat. You know it's about money because it always is.
Of course.
And the little, it's the music industry has become so enmeshed with TikTok when it comes to smaller artists that for them to try to separate it, I'm sure TikTok wants to pay them less. UMG wants more money. It's, this whole big, contract negotiation thing. And, now how has it affected the average person watching TikTok? What have you noticed? Sarah, what do you think?
I'm going to be very honest with you. TikTok is one of the things that I'm actually still trying to understand how exactly, I can incorporate my stuff or whatever it is. It's difficult, right? Like I personally thought it was just people posting about music and whatnot, but if you do go there, it's way more than that. It's kind of like an empowering tool for you to be creative or get the message out there. It's not just about the music. So it's yeah.
Molly, what do you see as a user of TikTok? How has it affected your experience?
It's honestly kind of crazy. Like a lot of and I post some things on TikTok, just like funny trends, that kind of stuff. But a lot of it is music based. So like a viral song or a viral like music edit. And when this hit, all of those sounds got taken off of TikTok and all of it. So all these videos are just muted now. And it just says at the very end, it said like at the very bottom, it says sound removed for copyright reasons. And it's just like, it kind of, it really negatively impacts like the user experience on the app itself.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if it's going to affect, the user, just the number of users and their, the views and their statistics on TikTok. It'll be interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah.
Now, Kylie, this was yours.
No, this is I have an interesting quote I want to add into this, but this is a smaller artist that Molly found on TikTok that is now, because of the UMG ban, really struggling. So Molly, what have you found with her experience?
So this is Ella Jane. I found her maybe like 2 years ago on TikTok, like promoting her music, and I've been following her since then. And you can kind of see in the very first photo, like screenshot that I grabbed, it says sound removed due to copyright restrictions. And so one of her songs, she's not signed to UMG, but because her catalog is distributed by UMG, like all of her music has been pulled off the platform. And so because of that, she is now having to perform all of her songs acoustically on TikTok, which is an avenue that artists can do, but without all that production, like, is it as appealing to like get your music in front of people? And then like her only non-UMG distributed song, she has been able to like actually promote. So I just thought it was like a really interesting kind of snapshot into like what this is doing to like the really small artists that people are finding because of TikTok. And it's just really, it just really sucks.
So if you're not a big TikToker, you might not even notice or know that this has as much impact as it does.
Right.
Financially on a lot of creators.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So we're going to wrap it up by kind of talking about how this is going to impact brands and brand strategies in their social media marketing on TikTok specifically. So one of the things you'll hear us saying pretty often is one of the best things to incorporate in your social media strategy is to stand out by fitting in.
Yeah.
This is kind of an end-all be-all truth for brands in particular. You want your content to not consistently look promotional. You want it to fit in with what other people see, be entertaining. And I guess the good news in this sense is that you're not going to not be fitting in because this ban impacts everybody. It's not just brands that are going to be impacted, it's everybody, so you're not going to find any individuals, you're not going to find any influencers that are now able to use this music. So you're still going to be able to fit in. Everybody's going to be going through the same difficulties when they're making their videos. However, one really important thing to consider as you're adjusting your TikTok strategy with this UMG ban in mind is sounds are used very often in TikTok strategies as a way to enhance views. When a song or even just a sound, like a memed sound, goes viral, a lot of brands, a lot of influencers, a lot of normal everyday people like us that are on TikTok will use that sound to try to get more views, to try to make their videos go viral. In terms of music, this will no longer be the case. Will there still be viral sounds that you can use and look up? Of course. They're always, unless there's some crazy band on sounds that just go viral, which that doesn't seem very plausible. This will continue to be the case. So instead of adapting your videos, your TikToks moving forward and basing them off of viral music, it's going to come down a little bit more to the quality of the content within the video. So I think that's a really important thing that brands will need to keep in mind moving forward on the platform and really need to adjust their strategy. So on one hand, it's not going to be detrimental to brands on TikTok because everybody's going through the same thing. But on the other hand, it's definitely going to call for some pivoting. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how brands move forward.
Absolutely. Anybody have anything else to add?
I mean, is it just me, or I actually do kind of like the idea of, bettering your content on TikTok?
Yeah.
In general, maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
No offense, but like I've seen, I do use a lot of Instagram and whatnot, and I do see the difference in the level of content that's, much better and kind of sophisticated on Instagram, and then you go to TikTok and it's fun, it's raw. But I do kind of like the idea of like, don't just lean on one music, or don't just lean on this, but try to rebuild platforms so that you can kind of like overcome any challenges and issues that may arise, which this is the case. So
absolutely,
I like where we're going.
And we talk about trend jacking a lot here too, and it's interesting because there's always going to be trends, but in this case, it forces brands and influencers for that matter too to rely a little bit less on trend jacking for virality. So yeah, it'll definitely be a big change.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're picking up a new client that's going to be doing a ton of TikTok.
Yeah.
And we are super excited to be reaching Gen Alpha and Gen Z. So we'll keep you posted on how that goes as that develops, because that's an audience that the Gen Alpha and Gen Z is okay and easy to reach on social, but the reaching of Gen Alpha is going to be really fascinating and challenging. So I'm sure we'll learn a lot. So
yeah, definitely.
We'll be back next week with some other hot take on some other topic. And thank you for joining us today. We'll see you then.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.